Hey everybody, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel, she is Hope. This is episode 46, and it is full-on Christmas time.
Yay!
Thanksgiving is in the rearview mirror, and...
the darkness of January awaits.
Yeah, it's already dark. It already feels super dark.
We are still so behind on our Christmas decorating. You still need to do the outside lights. Swap out the wreath. In fact, after we record this podcast, I'm going to have you put the outdoor wreath up. Now, I did get most of the indoor stuff done. Like, I have the throw pillow switch, all the cute little knickknacks, but the tree still has no ornaments. But
you just haven't trimmed the tree.
It's pretty with the lights on and the star on. It's been a lot. There's been a lot going on.
I mean, with both of our declining vision, you can all barely even tell there aren't ornaments on it.
The best part about having an astigmatism is lights always look kind of cool and Christmassy.
Yeah, until you're driving at night.
Yeah, until then. So, in other news, how do you guys eat a burger? I can't really eat beef right now, but Daniel...
one bite at a time.
You like cheese. I'm getting somewhere.
Oh.
You don't necessarily like it on your burger, which... I do agree. A cheeseburger is different than a hamburger, but I guess not to the general public.
I didn't realize you were trying to get me on my soapbox already this early.
I figured, why not? There's a couple different... I'm about to jump on a soapbox, so I'll let you go first. But we did a long run on Saturday, and we crave, especially me, I'm a very salty sweater, we crave salt. So we went through Wendy's, got some fries, and you decided to throw in a burger, and what happened?
I mean, they put cheese on it. I knew there was cheese on it.
Yeah, it was pretty evident.
No. I knew as soon as we went to Wendy's, and they have the little screen that they tell you your order, and I knew as soon as they rang it up that it had cheese on it.
Even though you tried to clarify like 3 times.
Because they rang it up as a single with no mayo, which is what I asked for. Because see, when you go to Wendy's, the single doesn't have cheese on it. You have to ask for a single with cheese. So if sometimes I get it, sometimes they ring it up as a single with cheese, no mayo, and it's correct. And that's because the instruction no cheese was put on there. A single doesn't come with cheese to start with.
But they want to put it on there.
But anyway. They put it on everything anywhere.
They were very concerned about your mayo, though, which you like mayo, again, but not on burgers, because they were like, no mayo, and you were like, yes, no mayo and no cheese. And I turned to you and I said, you're going to have cheese on that. And
I did. I knew it because the way they rung it up.
And then they tried to give you a Coke that you didn't order.
Yeah.
It must be just when I'm with you.
I didn't have any tolerance for them messing around. I mean, they were already had pulled 2 people up, and they were looking at us, and they asked us what we ordered, like 2 times.
Yeah. Is it just when
at the
I'm
window
with you?
where you're supposed to get the food? Yeah, this never happens when you're when you're not with me.
The fries at least panned out. At least they tasted pretty good. I mean, we're like half dressed after our long run, standing up in the kitchen, just eating fries.
Half clothed, both of us. You were clothed from the top, from the middle up.
I was like Winnie the Pooh.
I was clothed from the middle down.
I was like Winnie the Pooh Bear in there because we needed
just shoving French fries and hamburger in our mouths.
I didn't eat a hamburger. See, this is why I get chicken nuggets. Chicken nugget life. When you're saying a single, I don't even know this terminology.
A single patty of meat.
Chicken nugget girl for life. So. Anything else you want to say about the great cheese debacle?
I've learned to live with it at this point. Like I don't necessarily get mad about it anymore. It's just, it is what it is. Like there's nothing I can do about it. These places are obsessed with putting that little slice of crappy American cheese on that hamburger. And honestly, like if I had the time, I would just rather make the hamburger at home myself anyway. So
speaking of soapboxes though, before we get into it, since this has something to do with TV,
everybody just settle in, because you've got about 30 years to catch up on here.
30 years?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess technically yes. So there is 30 years.
So you have thoughts on the college football playoff,
and apparently you and other people want to hear them. I didn't want to talk about it, but if everyone insists. So the college football playoff rankings came out, and all I can say is, well, you people asked for this. You know what? Since the college football playoff inception in 2014, I said it. I said this is crap. It's crappy to let, a bunch of old dudes decide who's going to be in it. Do I think they've gotten it right some years? Sure. Do I think they've gotten it wrong? Absolutely. Do I think they have no standard set precedents at all? Yes, there are no rules. They change the rules every year. I remember the first little hiccup one year. It was like, oh, this team can't get in because they didn't play for a conference championship game. And then another year, a team got in that didn't play for the conference championship game.
Even though their conference had a conference championship game. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the blue bloods, money, when you put people in charge of crap like this. I think the computer systems did a better job. But anyway, it's really, I feel like the past few years, people have finally jumped on my level, especially this year. And I guess all it takes is your precious little baby blue blood teams being left off for you to see what some of us have seen all along. And I got to say this too. Now, I'm going to start off by, let's go over, I don't know the actual rankings, but we know Michigan's in this year. I think that's deserved. Washington.
I
believe it is Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Texas.
And
that's the rankings too, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do I think the Big 12's atrocious? So I'm like, why is Texas in there? Sure, but
It's
at the
Texas.
same time, did Texas beat Alabama
Texas
this
beat
year?
Alabama.
They did?
Yeah.
Are you sure on that?
Yes.
Or did they beat a team
They
that
beat Alabama.
Okay, so that if you're what did I think Shannon Sharp said in like 2017 that we really should call this the Alabama Invitational, the college football playoff, and it's really spot on. So I mean, we got to find a way to get them in there. Oddly enough, for once, Ohio State wasn't in the conversation. I guess people just forgot about them. I mean, they tend to be the ones that I feel like once Ohio State started getting left off before Michigan started beating them again, that was when people started questioning the playoffs.
Well, to be fair, Michigan went undefeated, beat Ohio State. Michigan didn't beat anybody else but Ohio State and Penn State. So
I mean, Ohio State's not even in the conversation.
Ohio State losing to Michigan put them out of the conversation.
Really, the whole Big Ten argument thing is I think it was like Iowa that played Michigan. Like, it should have been Penn State or Ohio State again because Iowa's like not even like the third best in their conference, but that's a conference issue. So I think for the most part, I can see why they made these decisions. I don't know much about Washington. Are they undefeated?
Yes.
I don't really care. I don't really pay too much time on that. Basically, why you think like, oh, why haven't you listened? I used to be super into college football. Well, my reasons are twofold. One, as soon as this crappy playoff came about, I was like, well, that really screws over people like me who root for a non-blue blood school. And then the said school I root for, WVU, decided, we're just going to be awful all on our own, baby. And made horrible decisions. Awful. People celebrate mediocrity now. Sure, WVU got 8 wins, beating garbage teams. That's a whole other issue. But now you have Florida State. I think they do have their quarterback injured, I guess.
They went undefeated.
So they are undefeated in the ACC, which has clearly been determined as a crap conference. And so they're undefeated, but their quarterback is like hurt. So people are saying that's part of the reason. But I'm going to say this to you. Florida State, you know what? You get what you deserve. It took 30 years, but karma. Florida State was 10-1 in 1993, and they got picked to go play, I think it was like Nebraska or somebody, whereas WVU was 11-0, undefeated, and that should have been our spot. But 30 years. There you go. This is your punishment. So here's me, playing my tiny little violin for you. I really don't care. That being said, you'd be carting me off in handcuffs if WVU, even in the crappy Big 12, if WVU. Because this year, let's face it, the Big 12 wasn't very good.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why Neil Brown's still employed. That's the only reason why they won 8 games, whatever. But you'd be carting me off in handcuffs. And that is the problem with this college football playoff as it stands. Thankfully, enough, blue blood teams, people's feelings have gotten hurt in the past few years that they finally are changing it. And I think this is the last year, right?
Yeah, it's expanding next year.
So it's expanding. So now I guess our thing is we can see Ohio State, Michigan, probably Penn State, probably Alabama, probably Georgia. Snore, yawn, boohoo for years to come. So all you people will be happy about that. This is why I like March Madness better anyway, because it gives, even though I can't even get going on the state of WVU basketball now. If you had told me that the football team would be more promising than basketball a year ago, I'd have laughed in your face.
Remember, this is not a sports podcast.
Whole other rant. I know, everybody, you asked for it. You're the one that told me to do this, Daniel, and other people wanted to know my opinions. But yeah, so it's going to make the people that are getting left out a little happier now. I think it will potentially give some other teams a chance. It would be nice to be in the conversation, but that's basically what I say is welcome to my level for basically the past decade, people. I always told you this system was crap. I preferred the BCS.
I know most of our listeners probably don't care about my football opinion on this, but I think it's just silly that Division II, Division III, high school, all the other conferences that exist out there have figured out how to do a playoff system, and the biggest
in the NFL
and the NFL, but the biggest like non-professional sport, college or football sport, can't seem to figure out how to do a playoff system right when it's right there. And the reason is because all the bowls and the money that goes in it. And I'm happy to say that I want the bowls to die. I hope they die. I hope this kills them. The bowls are terrible.
Yeah, I just think that basically I predicted this years ago. I said, you just wait, people, when one of the good teams is left out. And it's been like, there's been a few each year. So there's just a lot wrong with college football. And basically, I'm just here to say, it might sound like I'm being a hater towards some of these blue blood teams. And maybe I am a little bit because I'm jealous. Let's call it what it is. But y'all finally know what it's like to feel this way. And Florida State fans, again, oh well. Now you know what it feels like.
There's always next year.
There's always next year. So hopefully, so yeah, that you guys asked for it. You want me to rant more? I'm always happy to do so.
All righty. Well, to get on to some other things we've been watching, we had the Special Forces finale this week, the final episode of our favorite reality television show.
One of our favorites.
Special Forces. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was great.
I enjoyed it as well. I was a little surprised that and how it ended. If you are, again, watch those chapter markers. So now's the time to click off the Special Forces conversation. But if you are watching Special Forces, or if you don't care and you want to be spoiled, basically the ones that finished the program, finished the tasks, and quote unquote won. There was Aaron Jackson, that is the gold medalist speed skater from the most recent Winter Olympics. Nick Viall, former Bachelor and Mr. Interesting, according to Billy, DS Billy on the show. But he does a podcast. And then Tyler Cameron of the Bachelorette, so also Bachelor Nation fame. They finished it. JoJo was the one surprising part to me. I really thought she was going to finish it at the end. You thought she was going to win the whole time too, right?
Did. And the thing is, like, she made it through the first round of interrogation.
And did well.
The interrogator actually said that is incredible for a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
To do what she did in there. But then she got put in the cold room with the headphones and the...
And you have to sit in like weird positions, like stress positions. So like when you're cold, one of the things your body instincts you want to do is you want to wrap your arms like around your chest, kind of like that. And they make them like sit in like funny positions, keep their arms up. And then they have these headphones where you can hear like babies crying, all kinds of noise.
I'm pretty sure I had the old internet modem boot up screech is in there. Except
that
like
would
really
drive
loud.
me nuts. Yeah. I can't stand to have any type of disruptive noise.
It would be a sensory nightmare.
Yeah, it would be horrible. And I think for her, she said she had an epiphany that so it's almost like she won personally away, to sound cheesy, but I mean, it's true. She said she realized she's never really put herself first. She's always put her career first, what other people want out of her. And she's like, you get in that situation, you think, and she's like, in that moment, all I wanted to do was go home, see my family, and I just wanted to be done. So I made the decision, I'm gonna just not do it.
And it takes a lot of maturity to do that.
It really does. It really does.
On the opposite side of that, the other person that made it to the final day but did not finish was Tom.
Yes.
He went through the first round of interviews. Well, actually, first before he even got to the first round of interrogation, they had the doctor come check on him, and he was like fine, but he was acting like he was not fine. And I'm not sure what that was about.
Shivering, and then he thought he had hypothermia, but then they checked and they were like, "No, you're good." It made me wonder if he was trying to get medically excused, so he couldn't be like, "Oh, I didn't finish," or "I quit," or "They didn't have me pass."
But then he does in the first round of interrogations, does absolutely awful,
horrible,
and so they pull him after that.
And because they can make that, and I don't think they really did that last year.
They did not pull anybody for that specific reason last season.
Like, I know people just didn't finish it or they failed that, but they were basically like, "Hey, what do they call him, like the umpire or something?
Yeah,
the guy
he
to?
came in and basically said it just didn't seem to him like he was taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And he pulled him.
He's so strange. Again, how he and
no idea.
Ariana from Dancing with the Stars were ever together, I will never understand. I'm not going to watch their show, but he was getting on my nerves in the finale when he was shouting at Aaron, and JoJo was like, "Don't talk to her like that." I mean, I am surprised he made it as far as he did. I'll say that.
Yeah, I agree.
I do like how JoJo would braid his hair. We felt all season I was like, who is French braiding his hair back like that? And then they showed her like braiding his hair at the end.
So Aaron kind of, I guess,
we finally saw emotion from her.
Like they got
her.
The whole idea with the very end of interrogation is essentially they bring you to a point where it's like you feel like your life is in danger, and you actually have to self tap out and be like, hey, I'm going to give you the information.
Yeah, you don't tap out.
You don't tap out, no.
But instead of like the story, because basically they give them each a story they have to stick to. Like I was bird watching, I was taking pictures. Instead of the real reason, like I'm here training with special forces. So she finally, what I feel like I might have done, where the woman's about to throw water on her and her reflex pushed the cup back at the woman. And at that point, it was
so they take her out to punish her.
And she's like, never mind, I'm here for special forces.
That's when she finally takes care of that. And then they use her as bait against the other two guys.
They gave her a steak dinner. And for me, somebody who gets sick with steak, I'm looking at you because like red meat and stuff makes me sick. And I'm like, ooh, would I just eat this? And I'm like, yeah, I'd probably go ahead and eat it anyway if they're giving it to me.
She seemed timid at first, but she eventually was like going for it. And I'll tell you what. Then they brought Tyler and Nick out, and they were pouring that cold water on them. I don't know that I've ever seen two people look more miserable than when they were having that water poured on them right there in that moment.
And I honestly think that Nick is the reason why Tyler passed. And I prefer Tyler Cameron as a person to Nick, but I think Tyler was just going to sit there and continue to take it.
He was going to sit there and take it, and Tyler finally was like, hey, it's time. Nick was like, hey, it's time. And he said it a couple different moments.
Yeah, because Nick was using his brain about how to get out of this. One's kind of like, okay, we're going to have to say what we're here. So all of them passed. We finally see emotion from Erin. Once they said she passed, she cried because she has been stoic the entire season. Yeah. And I can say her personality, like I think I've said it several times, but she has on the iFit workout stuff that I do with my treadmill. I did a whole series with her. Because they had like a Winter Olympic series where you could exercise with different Olympians, and she was one of them. And that is exactly her personality that she showed on Special Forces. That's how she is. Like, she was very even, calm. Because some of the iFit trainers are like, yeah, do it. Yay. All right. Come on. Next interval, let's go. And she's like, okay, now we're going to run fast. And I like that. Like, I thought it was fine. That's kind of how she is. And I feel like she kept in her emotions until the very end. And once they said, you passed, you did it, then suddenly she teared up. And you could tell, I did like it how they referenced Nick again, because Billy had caught him boring before. And they were like, and there's Mr. Interesting. So
20 more seasons, please.
Please, more seasons.
More.
And I've seen some comments online that people are like, because Hannah Brown won last time, also Bachelor Nation, and they're like, I don't understand how all these Bachelor people are doing so good. People, come on. You don't put Uggos on Bachelor Nation. Let's call it what it is. They're all the women are reasonably fit, young, in good shape. I know Hannah, she's danced. I know she said she's ran some half marathons. She keeps herself fit. And then like Nick, I know he ran track, was a good runner. Tyler, I think, was even like, I don't think he actually played in the NFL, but he played football in college, and like I think he did go to some NFL training camps or something. So all these people are always in really good shape that do these shows. Like I can name like 5 Bachelor Nation men off the top of my head that have some ties to the NFL. So they're in good shape, people. That's why these contestants do so well, is because they do have a good fitness. And I think if you can combine that and you can approach it with a good mental state, you're going to do a good job.
Well, beyond that, did all 3 of them that you're mentioning here from the Bachelor Nation make it reasonably far in the seasons that they were involved in?
Well, I mean, Hannah was...
Well, I mean, I know she was the Bachelorette.
But I think she was eliminated 5th. Nick got 2nd on both of his seasons that he was on The Bachelorette.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at there is that it's not just that they are physically strong. to survive in that environment, you've got to have some mental fortitude.
Yeah. Oh, for
Because
sure.
because it's not the same as what they did on Special
Yeah.
Forces, but you have to be able to pick yourself up mentally to go every day.
And I didn't even think of that from a mental perspective. I was just thinking it because a lot of people just seem so surprised from a physical perspective that these reality contestants are, doing the
Right.
same as they are with these athletes. But a lot of the athletes that have been on there are retired athletes, like Bodie Miller hasn't competed in a while, or they're athletes, I feel like it was only a few years ago, like on season 1 with Nastia Lukin, but really her last Olympics was 2008.
Yeah.
And she did compete a little bit after that, but she's kind of learned, how to be smart, to know her limits. And that's just what I wanted to say about, because I keep seeing about how people being so surprised with the Bachelor contestants. And I'm like, guys, they're all in really great shape. To be a good-looking person, it's mostly you have to work at it.
We'll talk about Paradise here in a minute. Just watch Paradise. They're in good shape.
Yeah, they're in good shape. But yeah, I agree. Make more seasons.
Maybe more,
It's
please.
a great show. I like seeing these different people tested. I would like to see a straight up celebrity, like an actor, go a little further. But you could tell, like Brian Austin Green, like I listened to an interview with Tyler Cameron. He was actually on Hannah Brown's podcast, and he said that Brian Austin Green at one point was basically like, "Yeah, this is dumb. I'm going home." Like I would like to see an actor last as long. Yeah, I would like to see an actor last as long as like the athletes or the reality person. So the bar is raised. The bar is raised.
Okay, so after that, we've got Dancing with the Stars semifinal.
Yes, and tonight is actually the finals.
Yeah.
And for the first time, we have 5 contestants, not 4. Sometimes they do 4, sometimes they do 3. We have 5 competing in the finals. No one got eliminated.
They had
in the
me there, though, before they revealed that was what was going on. Before they revealed that, and we were watching live, and it was Sochi and Ariana.
Yeah.
That were the two that were going to, one of those two was going to have to go. I was sitting there about ready to kick the TV.
You were like me with the college football playoff. Like,
yeah,
what
I was
is this?
like, what is it? Because neither of them two deserved to go home.
Yeah.
And I was about to be real mad.
We were like, we won't care as like who goes now that Harry's gone. And then suddenly we're like, wait a minute, Sochi, the best two. Those in my opinion, are the best two. Sochi and Ariana, they're the best ones. I think Jason is good, but I don't think he's as good as the other two. Charity's a very beautiful dancer. She actually had her best dances that I've seen. She finally put emotion into it, like what they asked. Allison is just a joy to watch. She's improved each week. She's the weakest purely from a dancing perspective, but it's been fun to see her get better and better every week. And she is so fun, and she just brings a fun energy to it. So they're all deserving, but, to think that the 2 best ones would not get to be there. What? You
finally brought me off the ledge today when you told me what we think actually is the reason that they brought 5 to the final, and it's like the clouds cleared in my mind, because I was on full conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah.
Like who actually was supposed to go home, and what producer made the last minute call, and
That's
all
what
this,
we were thinking.
and greasy palms and all this other stuff, and then you're finally like, well, really, what it probably was is
This is what I'm hearing from Reddit.
They've decided to do a 3-hour finale.
Which
tonight.
is ridiculous.
And
I love this show. 3 hours is too long.
They were like, well, because we need to fill time because of the strike. We don't have enough programming. Let's do a 3-hour finale, and let's bring 5 people to fill all that extra time.
Too long? 3 hours?
3 hours is way too long for anything.
Way too long. Because they're all going to have 2 dances. They have their freestyle, which can make or break you. And then they have another dance that they're doing. I know Allison's going to be dancing to another Taylor Swift song, Enchanted. On Taylor Night, I was like, I can't believe no one danced to Enchanted. I can't remember what the others are dancing to. But the freestyle round, that can be one that can win over votes for you. You can do really good, or it can be kind of a bummer. That's the one thing where I'm a little worried about Sochi, because Val, while he's good at teaching the actual technical dances, he's not the greatest at doing a freestyle.
Well, the problem we have now
so I'm a little worried for her freestyle.
Because we don't actually know who didn't survive the semifinal.
Yeah.
We really don't have any kind of indication as to who's getting votes and who's not.
And you could tell the contestants didn't know. Either
the judges
that or
didn't
they're
know.
all great actors. It looked like the judges didn't know. The pros didn't know. At one point, like, you could see, and I feel like I wish they would have just told them and we could all had a fun night, because Ariana in particular, they have her up there. She's clapping and happy when they announce that, I think it was like Charity or somebody that's safe. And you see her face. You see her look over to Sochi and realize, crap, it's going to be me. I'm going to be the one that doesn't make it to the finals. And you see Pasha, who this is going to be his first final. He's gotten stuck with like the old ladies to pass. He finally has a good partner. You see him looking down, but you just see, and I guess on her show, she's not like one to show a lot of emotion. So everyone said it was even more surprising. But I'm seeing a woman basically look like she's going to throw up and have an anxiety attack on national television. You see her face just go from smiling to the realization like, Sochi's got to be the one that's saying it's going to be me that doesn't get to make it, that gets this far. And I felt so horrible for her.
Yeah, I did too. I felt
torturous.
bad for all of them.
Shame
I felt
on
bad
you,
for
ABC.
all of them. I
Shame
knew
on
something
you.
weird was going on because Allison Hannigan, when she was announced safe,
She looked shocked.
I
But
was
she
like-
and Sasha were like, oh
well,
my
they
gosh,
announced her
really?
safe first.
Yeah.
And like she is, in my opinion, like of those five, the
She's
worst.
the weakest
The
one.
weakest
yeah.
one of those.
Even
I'm
though
not
she's
going to
been
say
great.
I don't want to use the word worst or bad. She has become a very
weakest
good dancer,
dancer.
but she is the weakest of those
And she
four.
knows it.
And so when they announced her as safe first, I was like, "Uh-oh, what's going on here?"
Yeah. Well, my first thought was see Charity because we weren't sure
Yeah,
about
exactly. And then
Charity's
Charity was the
votes.
next one that they announced was
Yeah.
safe, and I was like,
And then it was like, what? Then I was like, okay, well, bye, Jason. And then they announced he was safe, and I was like, what?
I don't know. You look at it in hindsight, and it definitely was like
Yeah.
a producer timed thing. The
Annoyed.
way they
I'm
lined it
annoyed.
up was perfectly in alignment with how everybody was thinking about who should go.
I am annoyed.
And it was annoying, and I don't think they should do that anymore.
Well, it was really like just put these contestants through this emotional torture real quick, why don't we?
Yeah.
And you could tell like when Allison finished her second dance of the evening, she was almost giving like almost a goodbye, and you were like she knew like she had done great, she had made it that far. So I definitely believe it that none of them knew. I also think that I get why they wanted to have that fun surprise. Part of me wishes that instead of having 5 go to the finals, that they would have not eliminated somebody on premiere night. I think on premiere night where it's fun,
I
everybody's
agree.
learning. They used to not do that. I hate night 1 eliminations. I think it's crappy to eliminate then, and I think it's crappy to eliminate on Disney night.
Yeah, I would rather stretch the season early
Yeah.
like that than late. Because early you're giving more people the opportunity to,
Yeah.
that first week cut is hard.
And it would have been nice to see, like this season, Matt Walsh was cut early.
Yeah.
The season before that, I don't know the actor's name. He's Smith Jerrod from Sex and the City to me.
Oh, yeah.
I think he could have been a lot better than what we saw. And it was just like, okay. And you just kind of forget those people were even on the show.
Mhm.
But I am excited for the finale.
Oh, sure.
Predictions. Who do you predict is going to win?
I know who's the best dancer.
Oh, yeah. But who do you think is going to win? That doesn't necessarily mean.
That I couldn't. I can't tell you. Xochitle's the
no
best
idea.
dancer without a doubt.
Are you a little worried for Val's freestyle, or do you think he'll serve her right? And
I don't
he'll get
know.
It right this time?
I don't know. At this point, I feel like whatever they do, they're going to get all 10s, and it's going to be up to the fan vote.
Yeah,
And
I don't know, how her fan vote
because
is.
we really don't have any, we don't have any clarity into that as to what
I think I
that
would
how
be
that
happy
goes. So I don't know.
for any of these contestants that won for different reasons. So, but Sochi is definitely who I want to win. I would also like to see Ariana win because that'd be really cool to see Pasha win. I wouldn't be upset if Jason won because that would mean that Danny would get her second mirror ball.
Jason's been there all season.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if he has the fan vote.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Could it be like me, like everybody knows his music but has no idea who he is?
So now, one of the best parts of the episode, which we only have 2 movies to talk about this
Oh
time,
no!
as we are in the
Oh,
holiday season.
Darn it! Shoot.
It's another edition of the Hallmark Christmas movies. We have 2 to talk about. Kick us off, Daniel.
A not so royal Christmas.
A Not So Royal Christmas. This one we watched over the weekend. Now, it has Will Kemp. He's one of my favorite Hallmark leads. I think they let him use his actual accent this year, whereas last year they had him in the movie with somebody that had a British accent, but they made him use an American accent. It was very weird. I liked his glasses and his flannel look.
There was a hot second where I thought they were going to do a Superman, and I would have appreciated that.
They
referenced it, but they didn't actually do it, and I wish they had.
They made when he was trying to conceal himself from the tabloid reporter girl.
So in this movie, made for TV movie, they're in like some Norwegian
think it's like
fictional
an English,
place.
It's like a fake country.
And
I like to think it's next door to Arendelle.
A count in charge of this town, and no one's seen him for a long time. So the lead actress of the film works for a gossip magazine that is all about like royal bloodline gossip. Yeah. So she gets sent to this place to try and get a scoop interview with the Count of Schlachtenblock, Hagen-Dagen.
Yes, yeah, it's like Hagen, because we kept calling it Hagen-Dagen, like the ice cream.
And what happens is the Count like advocated years ago, but they kept it a secret.
Because he fell in love on spring break with an
But she meets
American.
this what's-his-face guy with his glasses, and she thinks he's the Count, and he doesn't correct her on that, and then it all just snowballs. And it snowballs to the point where, spoiler alert, he ends up being the actual Count by the end because the king decides he's such a nice guy that he's just going to make him the honorary Count.
You left out a lot of details. But
by the way, who is the person when this movie ended? Well, I called that was going to happen like within 15 minutes.
And I was like, I don't think you can just make somebody a Count. Apparently,
who is the person at the end of the movie that said that is so unrealistic?
Me. Because I just don't think that would normally happen in royalty. You left out details about the lying. They were both lying to each other. So he wasn't going to keep doing. He was just he didn't correct her when she was confused. The counts or King's Council of Royal whatever the hex were like, you know what? It's great. We need somebody to kind of pretend to be the Count because it's driving up tourists and people want to know where he is. Can you just go ahead and fill in and like pretend to be the Count for us? Which I was like, okay. I don't think a royal like monarchy would have some rando pretend to do that with everything.
And we thought maybe at first they were like even tricking the king, and the king was going to be mad. But then the king is in on it, and it's like, okay,
it was weird. But she does work for a gossip tabloid, but she pretended that she was with like a more legitimate publication. So first off, I'm like, okay, these royal council, whatever, that are making this guy pretend, they're obviously crap because they didn't ask to actually see her press pass.
Like they didn't ask for credentials of any
like
kind.
No credentials whatsoever to verify who this woman was. So they're both lying. They fall in love. Spoiler alert, but they're both lying to each other. It's kind of like a how to lose a guy in 10 days type of lie where both the parties are lying to each other. They both get mad. I mean, he's lying to a whole country, though. She kind of points that out. But they did. Now we can get into the Superman joke. So he tries to, before everything kind of gets out of hand, he's at a bar
with his friend,
and he puts the glasses on, and you're like, "Oh, what is it like Superman?"
Yeah,
and then what they do, they
did reference Superman, but I was really hoping she would walk by, see him, not recognize him because of the glasses, and they would just go on with that. But
there's always the Superman thing, and then for like women, and not another teen movie did this trope: the glasses and ponytail. When a woman takes her glasses and her ponytail off, suddenly she's hot. There's always that trope in movies too.
I like glasses on a woman, so I don't know what the deal is with that.
Well, thank you. I'm wearing my glasses right now.
I know.
So that one, I normally don't like hate the royal ones. I think some of the royal ones can be bad. Some of them can be, good. This one, mid. It was kind of boring, and it was weird. Was it not edited weird?
There was a couple cuts and edits and scenes that almost seemed out of like order.
It seemed like they cut a scene.
Yeah, and then I point out you didn't see the first one, but you saw the second, the second blue screen.
I thought it was a green screen.
Whatever, they use both colors. I can't tell you what color it is because it's not there on the screen. But it was clearly a digital backdrop that they had put on,
and not a good one. And it was obvious that like they had to come do some pickups at the last minute. They may have even had to do those like post like strike because that's how kind of haphazard they looked. Like, the scene where they kissed or almost kissed for the first time was so jarring and out of place.
Yes.
Like, it just seemed like
it was
started
supposed to
in,
have
mid-conversation.
Well, they had that dinner at the palace. That scene where they almost kissed seemed like it should have been after that.
Yeah, it was very weird.
It was very strange. Strangely edited together. I think this one may have been filming, like, during right up to the limit of when the strike took place, and they had to just work with what they had.
So the other one we watched, I actually loved, though, and I went into this one thinking it was going to be silly. Catch Me If You Claus.
Also a stinker.
Not a stinker. Don't listen to him. This one was good. Did you not think it was better than a Not So Royal Christmas?
Sure, but like the difference between a 3 and a 4 on a ranking scale, still a stinker.
You are incorrect. This one was good. Give us your synopsis. Go.
Oh gosh, boy, I have to. The other one must have left more of an impact on me, on my brain.
This one was so
she
much
works.
better.
Okay, the main character works at a
in
movie,
Dayton, Ohio.
at a not a movie theater at the TV station in Dayton, Ohio,
Not the same thing.
and she writes like reports, and she's trying to get on air.
Yes.
And so at some point the weekend person gets sick, and
it's not the weekend
they've
person.
got a Christmas Day thing coming up. Nobody watches the news on Christmas Day. And they're like, hey, do you want to, can you fill in on Christmas Day? And she's like, yeah, I'll be there. And then
at
there's
5:30 in the morning.
At 5:30 in the morning. And then there's this whole side story that they're sprinkling in about how like there's this Santa burglar going around. So anyway, she's trying
from
to get
the former mayor. The former mayor also
something with the former mayor. She's trying to get some sleep before her big day, and she hears some noise out in her living room, and she goes out and she catches this shady Santa Claus looking guy in her house, and she assumes it's the Santa burglar. Spoiler alert, it's actually Santa Claus's son, Chris.
But not Kris Kringle.
No, that was like mini Santa generations ago. They have shenanigans.
And one night long, because it takes place on Christmas Eve.
It takes place on Christmas Eve.
They do run into a theater group. Maybe that's what you're
They run
thinking.
it. Yeah, they do. They go to a theater group that's having a really sad Christmas
rap party.
Eve sad party where they won't let them use the phone until they join their troupe. So she has to put on a monologue, and then they get to use her phone. Then she uses like Windows 95 on that guy's computer up there to look up some sort of information on a website that would not have loaded on that computer. No shot. The information she was pulling up would have loaded on that computer from that age. That computer barely could get on the internet.
Details coming screaming back to you now. But it turns out there's actually another Santa burglar.
There is actually a Santa burglar
with an accomplice woman with brown hair. That
and it looks
about.
just like them walking around, and they end up together, caught, and then there's a flash
drive
that's got like information about the mayor and who's shady. The mayor's always shady.
Former
What's
mayor.
the big deal? No, he was the active mayor.
Oh, he was the active mayor?
Yes.
Oh, I thought he was the former mayor.
And so, anyways, he
was the active.
He
mayor?
was the active mayor.
Then it was the former mayor's staffer.
Yes.
That was trying to uncover about how the mayor.
And he was shady too, because he was the one that had hired the Santa to go burglar people.
Because he wanted to prove that he was right.
Yes.
And he was trying to prove that the mayor was using all these fundraising efforts to like pay for stuff and to build him a new office to go on vacations and trips and all that stuff.
Yes.
So we had all that plot going on.
Then Santa Claus shows up.
Yeah, Santa.
Because his son is screwing up Christmas.
Because no one could get a hold of his son.
On a razor phone. And ultimately, Santa and they save Christmas, and she gets to the news station just in time to break this story wide open about the mayor. And it's all a happy ending, and then they kiss at the end.
But you kind of left out some details.
Of course I did.
So she was trying to get the weekend reporter job.
Yes.
But this was like midweek. And the person that was supposed to normally report had laryngitis and was sick. So she didn't take this person's job.
Okay, because you were so concerned about that. And it's like such a menial little thing.
Well, at first when I didn't want, it's not fair to take somebody else's job.
That business is cutthroat, man. You got to be ready to go.
Well, still, I'm not going to sit there and root for somebody to take somebody else's job, especially when the one person did earn
because
it.
You're not rooting for the guy and the get to break up with his girlfriend in the Holiday Road Up movie last week.
That's a whole different thing.
He dumped her butt on Christmas Day.
That's not career aspirations that you've worked for forever. She'll live. We'll get to see her. I hope we get to see that woman's perspective for a Christmas movie next year. You also left out the two things that connected the main characters. Her mother was like a national, not just Dayton, Ohio famous, whatever that means. Her mother was like a national, like renowned. I'm getting the feeling like a Katie Couric type, like newswoman.
And of course his father was Santa Claus.
And Santa. So it's like expectations of living up to these things, and that kind of bonded them together. And can I just say that had they did not just kiss at the ends. That had the hottest Hallmark movie Christmas kiss I've ever seen. Like at one point, for some reason, they jumped into some random person's van.
Well, they were chased by these guys looking for the thing for the mayor.
It was like a whole thing. So they don't. So the person doesn't look in at them. She's like, "Hold on, I want to like distract you." She already believes him at this point that he's Santa's son. After
inexplicably with no proof.
He did prove it. He was able to remember her best Santa memory and like her most meaningful. They call it like
most
your
that could mean
meaningful-
he's just a real big stalker.
her most meaningful, life-changing gift that she got as a child. No, there would have been no way for anybody to know that. You would understand if you knew the magic of Santa. Anyway, so to kiss him, she like full on straddles him, and they start like not just a pecking, like making out. This year I've seen Hallmark a little slip a tongue in one of the movies. And this time, like, that was full. I've never seen such a suggestive Hallmark kiss
Such
in my life.
scandalous smut they're putting on the TV these days.
And then they do kiss again at the end, of course, and he makes it snow, and it was great. This was a good movie for shenanigans. Fun.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say about this movie now. He shows up at the end of the movie in, like, just normie clothes.
Not his Santa outfit.
And I look over at you, and I look at you, and I'm like, so you liked him better in the Santa Claus outfit, right?
Yes.
And, like, you're a broken person.
I love Santa. Leave me alone. Maybe I am a broken person. I'll definitely say this as somebody who's worked in the news industry. The fact that all it took was for her to run on air and throw on a blazer over a hoodie when she could have taken the hoodie off and the blazer would have looked better. And we already know she had her makeup on before she went to bed, and it's a Hallmark movie. All it took was her to sit down real quick, breathless, deliver that, like, 5-second news thing at 5:30 a.m. is what ultimately landed her that weekender job. Please, that's not how that works. Clearly, they were just waiting for her to do something good because of the legacy of her mom. Because I'm like, a normal person wouldn't have landed the job from that alone. They would have been like, why are you late? Why are you out of breath? You're dating Santa's son. Excuse me, what? But it was good.
I don't think she told him about Santa's son.
Yeah, I don't think she did. But they would have been like, why are you late? What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, it is 5:30 in the morning on Christmas Day in Dayton, Ohio.
Like, who's
maybe they're
watching
not that.
the news at 5:30
Yeah, maybe
in the
they're
morning?
not that. Well, they said multiple times in the show, like nobody. That's why they'll put anybody in there.
I found it very interesting that all it took was that, and she's like, "I got the job, the weekend anchor job," and I'm like,
"Hooray!"
That's it. So that was good one though. I liked that one. So now you got, what is your favorite Hallmark movie that we've seen so far this year?
Biltmore Christmas.
A Biltmore Christmas. I agree, it's the best one. The 2023 set has been disappointing. Catch Me If You Claus was one I thought would be really stupid because sometimes I don't love it when they introduce Santa into these movies, but that was a good one. And yes, he did look better in the Santa outfit.
Hey, we're continuing to watch What We Do in the Shadows season 4. I still cannot stand it anytime baby Colin Robinson comes on.
It's like teenage or kid, preteen.
What does
Colin
Nadja
Robinson.
call him? The creature that climbed out of Colin Robinson's, our former friend's Colin Robinson's abdomen or something like that.
I think she said it like this: the creature that crawled out of our former friend Colin Robinson's abdomen, or so, like very Oh, because they never call him Colin or Colin Robinson. They're doing I don't think he's a teenager yet, but they're doing a good job of nailing how annoying kids are.
Yes.
Because I never realized that kids do this until this pointed out. I'm like, oh my god, kids do this. Hey, Laszlo, guess what?
Guess what? Guess what? Laszlo's like, you can just say it. You don't have to ask me, guess what?
So the most recent episode we watched, we had some revelations with Guillermo. His family came over. Apparently, if they're around a vampire.
Yeah, his whole family are vampire hunters who don't know they're hunters, but they still have that urge inside them, and they got around Nadja and really started flipping out.
But the big secret wasn't that he lived with vampires, because I think Nadja hypnotized them to forget that. The big secret was Guillermo has come out about his sexuality, that he is gay. Do we think Guillermo and Nandor could actually be a thing? Because when Nandor...
I think they've hinted at it multiple times.
When Nandor got married, he used one of his last wishes with his genie so that Nandor's wife would like all the same things he does.
Yes.
So she comes over and starts talking about how much she likes Guillermo. No, this could just be a friendship thing. But yeah, they've definitely hinted.
Yeah, I think so.
And we know Guillermo's also stealing from Nadja's club.
Yes.
So's Nadja.
Yeah, they all are, so.
I just want more storylines for the Nadja doll. I want to get a doll that is like me, that I can every day. I like how she always dresses the doll in the same outfit she's wearing. I want a little Hope doll that I can talk to. Would you enjoy that, to have two of me around?
No.
Hey, Laszlo, guess what?
No. No, thank you.
It's
They caught the Jersey Devil
Yeah.
in one of the episodes.
That's where they went camping with Shawnee, their neighbor, their Long Island neighbor. And Nando and Laszlo were fighting in that one. That was funny.
Yeah, it's just a good show. Oh, I'm enjoying it.
I agree with you with Colin Robinson, though. It's creepy.
I wonder at some point, like he's been the kind of like preteen, like right around that 12, 14 age for a while, a couple episodes now.
I think
wonder,
they gotta age him up soon,
I wonder if they're going
right?
to jump him up to full on teenager at some point. And then the question I have is, does he eventually just turn back into regular Colin Robinson with all the memories,
That's what I want to know.
or is it a search
Is it
for
a Groot situation?
is it a Groot situation, or is it a search for Spock situation?
You just had to get in a Star Trek reference.
That's the next movie that you're going to watch with me. At some point, you've got to watch it. It left you on a cliffhanger.
Maybe.
All right.
Anyway, speaking of
You've watched a couple
cliffhangers,
things without me.
I have.
One of which, thankfully, was The Bachelor in Paradise.
And speaking of cliffhangers, we're left on a cliffhanger, of course. And I guess this week is the finale of Bachelor in Paradise, and I think it's also going to be 3 hours long. Probably because the Golden Bachelor's over and they have to fill the time slot. Maybe it's 2 hours, but they got a lot of resolve. This
I
is where the
remember you
engagements are
made
gonna
me
happen.
watch the 3-hour version of the show once, like a couple years ago. Oh,
I don't recall that.
It was intolerable.
I have no memory of that.
Well, you did.
But Rachel, our former bachelorette who was a contestant, she just decided to peace out on her own, which was good because all these guys suck. They're all crap. So I'm like, you know what? Go get out of there. And I liked her Instagram post. She put, see you in like 20 for the Golden Bachelor or something. Like basically like poking fun out of herself. I've read some spoilers about some of the couples that last, which I won't get into. But there's not much for me to say about it. It's a show I enjoy each week. I like Bachelor in Paradise best. I think this season has been just straight up regular messy drama, not completely over the top. There's been a couple seasons that I didn't like, and I think this one's just it's suitable. There's a really weird moment between Kylie and Blake because Blake decided to leave. He and Jess peaced out. I've heard they've since reconciled, and it looked like Kylie was almost hitting on him. Everybody on Reddit's been talking about like what was up with that tension. That was weird. There's really not much else for me to say except for I'm excited to see how it all wraps up and good for Rachel getting out of there because these men are trash. And although I feel like all the women are always better than the men in this franchise, I'm just going to say it.
I'm glad I tapped out. I'm glad after Poopgate I tapped out.
Which they did announce. I think we said a couple weeks ago that she did poop.
She finally pooped, yeah.
See, I would like an update on all the couples because I have heard that she and Aaron are together now.
Cool.
And then I've also watched, so you guys don't have to, Santa Clauses. I am now caught up. Season 2 of the show never needed to be made. The last couple episodes, we got in some of the history of like the Mad Santa. So it wasn't terrible. It's not the best. Tim Allen is finally feeling more like Santa to me, whereas at the beginning of the season, he was so over the top. It reminded me of like the toy Santa from the Santa Claus 2. And I'm like, Tim Allen, what are you doing? I'm not feeling that warmth, that humor. Like, I know like Scott Calvin is always sarcastic. It's the vibe has felt weird. It's felt to me like Tim Allen did this for a paycheck.
Yeah, I'll say he's there to, you asked what he's doing. He's getting paid. That's what he's doing.
But it got a little better. I cannot believe until you pointed this out to me.
I looked at the screen. I'm like, well, that's
like
Cam.
1 second.
I looked at the screen and you had it paused. He wasn't even fully in the shot. And I was like, well, that's Cam from
Modern
Family on there as Santa Claus.
And I'm like, that is not Eric Stone Street. No way. And so to IMDb it is. And of course, it is him. And now I can't unsee it. It's giving me Fizbo vibes. Because let's face it, creepy Santas and clowns are very similar.
Yeah, there's a fine line between a Santa that looks approachable and a clown that you want to run away from.
But they made a very dark reference in, I think it was episode 4. So we already know from season 1 what happened to Bernard, one of my very first childhood crushes. I loved Bernard, especially the OG Santa Claus movie, Bernard's personality, when he was super sarcastic. We know that he fell in love with a human. If that happens, you can like age up. So that's how they explain that actor, not looking like a child anymore. Well, in the Santa Claus 2 and then 3, where he becomes the head elf, Spencer Breslin played Curtis, the elf. And we've never really heard what happened to Curtis in season 1. They made a very quick blinking you miss it reference to it, to the fact that I had to check and verify on TikTok that I did hear this correctly. So one of the elves was being checked out by like the little elf doctor, and they're like, if you don't eliminate your stress, you could explode. We call it the Curtis syndrome. So I guess Curtis exploded. I'm like, a little dark here.
That's
people.
A little dark, yeah. For the kind of show this is, but
wow, like funny but dark. Like I feel like that's a joke Tim Allen was like, put that in there, because there's rumors that he wanted the first Santa Claus, like the movie, to be even darker than it was.
Yeah,
and didn't
that
like
movie
working
wasn't
with
dark
kids.
at all. So
yeah, so I will continue watching just because I do like the Santa Claus series, and I can fill you guys in, so you don't have to watch this. If you love the movies and you want to see how stuff plays out, sure, watch at your own risk, but. You know, if you're on the fence, I'd say just watch the OG Santa Claus like you do each year at Christmas. I don't hate the second one. I don't even hate the third one, but the first one, nothing really ever needed to be made past that first movie.
No, certainly not.
So, yeah, anything you watched the tail end of it, you had some things to say.
Yeah, I actually do have something to say. And the thing
show.
is, it's like at one point in that last episode you're watching, they're like kind of doing a flashback to like ancient times. Like we don't know exactly how far back, like 400 or 500 years. And like anytime, I'm a lore nerd.
You were like this last season with the Santa Claus history.
Because they're getting into like a history of the stuff. And so anytime, like, I guess it comes, I think, deeply rooted from being a Lord of the Rings fan.
Or a nerd.
And Lord of the Rings, just Tolkien had very much wanted to make sure that this was a world that had been lived in and there was history to it. And so he wrote the history to it. And you can go back and look at it. And I thought that was a really interesting idea of what they were doing, executed horrifically. Like the idea that like at one point there was a Santa Claus that turned into a tyrant and used gnomes to take control and kick out all the elves and all this stuff, and the elves forged like a underground campaign to take it back.
Plan.
Like that is a good idea on paper that you could make and execute into a fun story, or in this case it's just a background story. But even the way they just like it just,
I think these elves are annoying. Like they just
I don't like these elves.
They make like the other elves, maybe it was because we were kids and the other kid elves didn't get on my nerves. These ones, the acting is over the top. They're not my favorite.
I mean, the Santa Claus elves have never been my preferred elf. I always have liked the elves, like Buddy the Elf elves.
Yeah.
If we're going to go with like the version of like the Santa Claus elves that we've been stuck with, short, elves versus like Tolkien's elves that are tall,
like creepy
ethereal
little kids with sparkles
beings
on their cheeks.
Yeah.
I don't like the elves from Ernest Saves Christmas. Those ones scared me.
There were elves in that?
Yes. Remember they like shipped them in like the box?
I don't remember that at all.
And then they're screaming while he's flying. That was a movie that you and I both insisted we liked. And then we tried to rewatch a few years ago. And we're like, wow, this is stupid.
Kids like trash because that was bad.
I loved all the Ernest movies when I was little. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
I didn't remember anything from it, but it was like, wow. I'm afraid now to go back to some, because I think Ernest Scared Stupid, the Halloween one, was probably my favorite
Ernest
one.
Goes to Jail.
And I do not remember anything about it, and I think I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, I would have rather preserved that one as a memory of being a good Christmas movie, because I don't even think we could get through it. We were like, wow, this is dumb.
Yeah, it was dumb. Well, it's that time of the podcast again to talk about The OC Season 3.
And we have 3 episodes that we have watched. Episode 5, The Perfect Storm. Then we have Episode 6, The Swells. And Episode 7, Anger Management. So in this time, we have had, shocker of shocker, Ryan is angry. Let's see here. Charlotte, also known as 7 of 9. So you could have gotten your Star Trek reference in here. She's decided to zero in on Julie to execute her plans, and she realized Kirsten
She didn't know who she
money.
was messing with.
She really didn't know who she was messing with. We have Summer outwitting Taylor, because in the episode, Summer had discovered Taylor kissing Nadine, which ick, gross. And then we also have Johnny and his girlfriend,
Little Gianni.
who clearly is into Marissa, even if he doesn't know it yet. Taylor, who does she have a crush on?
Seth.
Seth.
Oh, because he was nice to her once.
Because he was nice to her once. Because she has issues. We meet her mom, who... You had an interesting reaction to Taylor's mom, you dirty dog. Do you want to elaborate on that?
I don't remember what I said exactly. Do you?
You were like, that's her mom? Ooh. And I was like, really? Okay.
Oh, no, because you said, yeah, she's not on the show very much. And I was like, oh, that's a shame.
Oh, my gosh. Her mom is awful. And that's partially why Taylor is awful. But basically, yes, because Seth is nice to Taylor. And she also said something about how she considers Summer a friend. And he's like, you consider Summer your friend? And then Seth repeats that to Summer. Because finally, Seth and Summer are about to have another argument again.
Oh,
and
good.
Seth finally is like just honest about what's going on. And Summer's like, she thinks I'm her friend. Which is funny. So I feel like in season 2, they started to back off of Summer Ryan's anger a little bit. Then they revved it up again. And now they're full blown going into it. Like he's punching bags, blooding up his hands.
Mm-hmm.
He is back in school because of that whole revelation with the whole Dean and Taylor thing. They gave the info to Sandy, and what'd Sandy do? He saved the day.
Of course he did. That's what Sandy does.
He is a gem.
He just needs the tools, and once he has the tools, he'll do the job.
Now Marissa, she's still at public school, but Julie, we're not even sure she could afford that anyway right now. So what do you think's going on with Ryan's anger issues?
We got introduced to that Transformer guy.
Volchek. He will be a continuing player throughout season 3.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And you will dislike him. Do you like Johnny or not?
He seems fine right now. Like I know you've kind of given me some insight as to that direction that might go.
He does it. He's not Oliver annoying. Just the whole storyline of him and repeated patterns with Marissa is what annoyed a lot of people at this show's original run. And ultimately, Johnny's story is going to be pretty tragic as well. So he's not annoying like Oliver was, but that storyline in particular, another guy falls head over heels for Marissa. What are we going to do? And right now, everybody else sees it, but Johnny and Marissa.
Sure.
Kind of.
Yeah. Because I think Seth and Summer
especially.
Yeah, kind of caught wind of it.
And Ryan's just mad and moody and grumpy.
Well, he's trying to
not be
like
grouchy.
when the Transformer guy kidnapped Marissa.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he should have called the cops.
Which he didn't.
But when he went down there,
why would we call the cops?
Instead of fighting him, he got really aggressive, made it seem like he was crazy, and told him basically, "You're going to have to kill me. If we fight, you're going to have to kill me."
He's giving me Ruth from Ozark vibes.
And
kill me.
He seemed to indicate that was him being smart and thinking, okay, well, certainly this guy's not going to go that far. But I guess the problem with that thought process is what if he was actually crazy enough to fight you to the death?
And he's only involved in all this because Volchek slept with little Gianni's girlfriend. So that's a whole thing. Let's get into the fun part of it, though. Down with Charlotte Morgan, because Julie Cooper, there's only room for one manipulative witch in this town.
I suppose so.
So first, Julie, as usual, even though she knows morally it's incorrect, Charlotte, which she figures out real quick what Charlotte's about. She sees she has a bunch of IDs and what are you doing? And because they had gotten Kirsten to work with them to organize some benefit that they were going to give to some women's charity. And Charlotte's like, you know what? I'll call the cops on you. She's like, unless she's like, you work with me. I'll give you part of the money. Then you have a place to live for you and your daughter. And then, of course, where Charlotte's talking to her little accomplice man. She has no intention to give Julie the money anyway. She's going to screw her over too. And you see Julie kind of like we've seen her in the past, even though she knows it's wrong, kind of go along with it because Julie's also desperate for money. But then Julie kind of realizes that Kirsten actually is her best friend. God bless Kirsten. God bless Sandy. Because after everything, even earlier in their year where Julie was trying to get the shooting pinned on Ryan instead of Marissa, these people still forgive Julie. And I think she sees that the Coens have done so much for her, even though she's tried to screw them over along the way, and she can't do it. So she makes an announcement. She out Charlotte really, and is like, hey, everybody, never mind, make your checks out to like this actual legitimate organization. And then she kind of tells Charlotte off, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
And
is this kind of the turn for her? Like, are we?
Yeah, Julie is one of those characters that she's always going to have these moments of like moral shifts. But I do feel like season 3, even though she still makes mistakes, is when I really like. There's a reason why I told you at the beginning of season 1. I'm like, I know I ended up liking Julie way better than Jimmy. I know Julie becomes one of my favorite characters. She's always going to be that character though. That she's never perfect. But that's kind of what I like about her. I'm really excited for Trailer Park Julie era to happen because that's one of my favorite Julie eras. But yes, there's gonna be times where she's gonna make you mad. The real question is, when did I start liking Taylor? Because right now,
I don't
I'm
know.
at a loss.
Because you keep telling me that,
and I've told you some stuff that
you've told me
in
some stuff in season 4.
And it's just like, how?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? I do not see it.
I do think Taylor remains annoying and neurotic, but as you get to know more about why she is and how she is, and Summer will eventually befriend her, you see a different side to her, and some of her annoyingness becomes more of a quirkiness that is funnier. Now, the fandom is still very split on her character, but I mean, I'll tell you this, Daniel, the fandom split on Marissa. There are people that just cannot stand Marissa, and I am seeing in season 3 that when I had a shift as a viewer, of course I didn't want Marissa to die, and I still shipped Ryan and Marissa, every bit of that, but that is the season for me where Marissa really started to get on my nerves, and it's because of this whole Johnny, later Volchek, I can't say his name right.
Voltron
fiasco happens. What do you think of season 3 so
I don't know.
far?
I guess I shouldn't poo-poo too much on people who take a little bit of time to get to know for people to warm up to
like
them.
You. Daniel, a.k.a. Chandler, is great once you get to know him.
It's season 3 is not obvious is lesser quality than season 1 and 2 so far.
There's moments of laughter,
but it's not nearly as much as what the first couple
darkness.
Seasons had, and the darkness, you can see it creeping around the edges. It's just more of a dark tone to everything.
I know right now, I know in the future that Seth and Summer have another storyline involving like some college stuff, but right now it almost seems like they don't know what to do with the two of them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what do we do when we can't make them fight the whole time? Because that's redundant. They've kind of regressed Ryan even more so. Or maybe they haven't regressed. Maybe he's finally tapping into some of that anger that's been there all along. But definitely with Marissa, it's just another stagnant, repeated storyline. Now, I have no idea about the Newport Group storyline. Now, apparently when I watched this in its original airing, I didn't really pay attention to the adults as much. I have no memory of Sandy running the Newport Group with this guy who, do we like this guy? He seems shady to me. It's weird. The whole vibe is weird.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say
weird.
that knowing the way they write these shows, they didn't even know, like when they introduced him, whether he was going to be good or bad or neutral,
or just
right?
disappear one day like Rachel did in season 1.
Like right now, they've just kind of got him in there, and he's helping Sandy out run the Newport Group, and it's like at any moment I could see him turn bad. Or I could see him stay perfectly fine and just be willing. Right now, it seems like what he's doing is just trying to get a job to make a name for himself, right?
So have we seen the last of Charlotte Morgan, though? Now that
Julie
know. Told her off? Because
did we see them skip town in the last episode? Because I don't think we did.
Yeah, and does Kirsten even know?
No.
Will Kirsten know? I don't remember any of this. I do know, looking ahead here on my phone, that we are going to get a Christmas episode again. The Christmaka Bar Mitzvahka. So that will be episode 10, and we are only at episode 7. So
boy, it's crawling
hopefully
by.
We can try to get through some OC season 3 episodes for you guys so we can get another Christmas episode in there. I didn't think we had another Christmas episode till season 4, so I have no memory of
How
this.
depressing will this one be?
Well, the description says Ryan, Marissa, Seth, and Summer raise money for Johnny's surgery. Apparently,
there you go.
Johnny's surgery. There you go. By throwing Ryan a bar mitzvah. So Ryan's bar mitzvah. Okay. And like I said, I don't remember any of that.
Well, I think that's about all we have to say this week. It's kind of, other than the Christmas viewing that we've got going on, new stuff is really just not happening right now.
But we do have some new stuff for us going on. In case you guys don't, I think Daniel mentioned this in a previous episode. In case you guys don't know, we are on YouTube now.
Yes, we are. We have a YouTube account. It is linked on our link tree, but it's also just We Watch TV podcast at YouTube. And we don't have any videos of us up there yet. We may commit to doing something like that, but all the podcast episodes are up there, which means you can listen to them on YouTube. You can listen to them on YouTube Music. And some of the short clips that we do on Instagram, we're going to start kind of linking them on there as well. So if you frequent YouTube on a regular basis and you want to go over there and hit that little subscribe button for us, we would greatly appreciate it.
Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.